Welcome into the door of psychic experience. Ask and you will be given what you ask for. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened. For everyone who asks receives. Anyone who seeks finds. If only you will knock, the door will open, and the truth within your higher spiritual self will be revealed to you. Come now with us and go where angels come, and you can too. Welcome to Psychic Experience. Thank you for tuning in. This is a metaphysical spiritual talk show. I'm the host, Reverend Doris Horvath, and the show is being presented by the First Spiritualist Church here in San Diego in the City Heights area. We're in the phone book. We're the church where angels come and so can you, any Sunday. And we have resident angels, myself, Reverend Doris, our assistant pastor, Reverend Marcella Jones, our healing minister, Reverend Celine Clark, our Reiki master, Reverend Rosie Oberlees, and our aura healer, Margaret Adler, licensed minister. And we are located in the City Heights area of San Diego, where we've been for 126 years. We just had our 126th birthday just recently. On this show, because it's a talk show and it is metaphysical and spiritual, we have very many different topics that you may not have ever heard of before. Tonight, we're going to have Beth Bolwerk as our guest, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about Beth, who I met just recently. She does sound healing, and she is also a practitioner of sound healing therapy. She's a Reiki master. She's an opera singer. She has an awesome voice. She just sang for us. And she does world music, recording as an artist, recording artist. And after 10 years of studying in Seattle, she is back here in San Diego. She moved back just like I did. Couldn't stand all the raining. And she practices sound healing. She teaches, and she is also a performer and soloist for different types of ceremonies. I'd like to introduce Beth Bolwerk. Would you like to say hello to our audience?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me today.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions because there's no better way for our audience to get to know who you are than for me to ask you questions so you can tell them about yourself. That's the best thing to do. And I don't really know the answer to this first question myself. So can you please tell us what is sound healing exactly?
Well, exactly. It's a very wide field. It encompasses a lot of things. And basically it's any modality that uses sound in a healing, balancing, soothing way. This can be from singing a lullaby to toning with a group, to chanting an ancient chant, to using a tuning fork on acupuncture points. They're literally finding very, very many amazing and very effective ways of using sound and sound vibration for our health, for affecting our physiological, our biological bodies, our physical bodies, our emotional beings, and our spiritual beings.
All right, then, can you tell us how does it really work? What makes it work?
Not to get too scientific about it, one of the main parts of sound healing, kind of to explain how it really works in the real world without going into the emotional and the intention. I'll do that secondarily. But one of the main things is an aspect called entrainment. And entrainment is a word for the phenomena of two things coming into the same resonance. So this can be an emotional entrainment. If you walk into a room full of people who are just, they're having fun, it's a party, your spirits tend to lighten a little bit. You're in training. If you've ever seen a child who sees another child who's crying, this is actually, and they start crying themselves. They're not even sure why they're crying, but they are literally in training to the other child's emotional resonance. If you have two tuning forks, to get kind of more specific and out of the emotional realms, physically, if you have two tuning forks and you hit one and it's vibrating and you put it next to a tuning fork that is not vibrating, the other one will start vibrating. It will entrain to that resonance. It'll start vibrating in sympathetic vibration. So we can use the process, the phenomena of entrainment with sound. Our bodies and rhythms in our bodies are our breathing, what we call our respiration, our heartbeat, and literally our brain waves will entrain to sound frequencies. So this is something we experience all the time in the world, and it's been used for millennia. A good example, two good examples, and they're very different. A lullaby. A lullaby is sung not quickly, not kind of with drums, right? It's sung very gently. You can almost hear the rocking in the singer's voice. And that is literally to help bring the baby's brain waves to entrain the brain waves to a slower frequency. And a military march, da 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 da, that's not going to put any baby to sleep.
No.
But it helps quicken our heartbeat. It helps raise our blood pressure, and that's all, ready to go into battle. And it's also that beat because people are moving together as one, as one body in, going to battle. So two very different but similar entrainment, that they are both using entrainment. Okay. So we're affected by that aspect, entrainment, an awful lot in our lives without realizing it.
Well, what got you interested in this work?
I actually started studying Reiki and Opera back in '94 in Seattle. Oh. And I realized after a few years, I was kind of slow back then, that it's the same thing. I was studying, in Reiki, I was studying how to be a conduit of pure light energy, of pure healing energy. And in opera, you're training your body to be a conduit of pure sound energy. And it's both, in both opera and Reiki, you get to some very high frequency vibrations, literally with the high notes, but just in terms of the beauty and the healing energy that you're bringing forth. So I started getting interested in why is music so healing, and why did I feel so changed when I sang, and why does music and why did my singing touch people like that? There was a connection there that was more than just the physical. So I started studying it.
Well, then what illnesses or diseases can sound healing treat?
Basically, just like in the instance of Reiki, if people are familiar with Reiki, illness and disease is just the body being out of alignment in some way, the energy flow of the body being out of alignment, and therefore disease happens. Cancer, for instance, it starts with one cell reproducing in the wrong place, or the wrong kind of cell reproducing or mutating. So right there we have that out of alignment happens, and then that just grows into a chronic disease or a chronic illness. So basically, sound healing, like Reiki, can apply, it can affect and help any thing that is out of balance in the body, so therefore any disease. It can be used both from a preventative point of view for stress relief and for calming, for centering, for meditation, as well as pain relief for chronic illnesses and for healing.
Well, what would a treatment consist of then? How would you approach that?
So for my individual treatments, I would have someone lay fully clothed on a massage table, and I usually do a chakra reading so I can kind of get where the person is and what kind of chakra maybe needs a little more help than others. And then I use things like, sacred instruments from around the world. These instruments have been used for healing throughout the ages. So I use gongs, which are very sacred in other parts of the world. We as Americans don't really have a cultural reference for them, but they're amazing healing instruments. Gongs, I use Tibetan singing bowls, I'll use rattles. I have a really neat earth drum to bring in that earth heartbeat, that lullaby of the earth energy. I'll use a didgeridoo, again, a very healing instrument from Australia, the Aboriginal healing medicine. And so, and I also have tuning forks to use on the different meridians and acupuncture points of the body.
Would you like to demonstrate your bowl that you use?
Yeah, I'll actually, I have 3 things here. These are called tingshas, and I think that the name almost sounds like tingsha, you know, almost like the strike, so it's kind of a descriptive name. And they are from Tibet, and they are used in meditation practices. Oh. Now, the interesting thing about the tingshas is that when you strike them, the frequency is a very rapid frequency. I think it's about 7 beats per second. So that's, you know, very quick, right? And frequency meaning the amount of beats and how fast it goes. Mm-hmm. So a clock is, you know, 1 beat per second, but these are 7 beats per second. And it literally helps our alpha state. Oh. So if someone is trying to focus their mind, right, in meditation, you can ring these and see what kind of how it affects you.
What key is that? Is that key of A?
They are handmade, so they're not going to be a piano note. Oh. So these are going to be a note. It might be around A, but I'm not sure. So literally, these are used to help focus our minds to the alpha state, which is a very alert brainwave state. And they knew that without having to know the word alpha or the numbers. You know, they intuitively knew in making these instruments that this is what they did. So these are used, and these are wonderful for opening and closing. And this is a Tibetan singing bowl. These are made with very specifically 7 metals, and they're the recipe, if you want to call it that, for making the bowl has been the same for, you know, thousands of years. So these are very particular sacred instruments, and you can both ring them, and I'm not sure if it'll pick up the lower tones, but you can both use them as a bell. Can you hear the high and the low sound?
Yes, I can.
So they have different frequencies in it, a low and also high. And you can also, I don't know if you can hear this. So that's the singing aspect.
I like that better than those glass ones.
So these are really wonderful. And I use these to balance the brain hemispheres with people I work with. So literally introducing them to the right ear or the left ear balances out the left and the right brain frequencies.
What if you're deaf in one ear?
You know, it probably, I know we hear through our skin, our bones, and our ears, so that might not be quite as effective, but I think it would still be balancing, because I think our brains are very sensitive that way.
What about your other sound maker over here? What is
that? This is a rattle from South America. It actually has little, might not be able to see it with the camera, but it has little spider energy. So it's got little spider animal medicine.
I like spiders.
Well, actually, yeah, this is really neat. So Again, when we're talking about using sound, and this is more of a world instrument than a child's instrument.
Does it rattle?
It does.
Oh, it sounds like rain. Almost. Rattlesnake.
So when we give a rattle to a child, we are literally giving it something
to listen to. To take its mind off of its fussing, its teeth hurting. Yes.
So it really is. They can be effective, and a rattle is often used in shamanic practices. So you have a sound that is helping get part of your mind, kind of keep part of your mind busy. Our monkey minds are busy, mental states. It gives part of your mind something to tune into, and the other part of your mind can enter into that journey state, which is that special, the shamanic meditative practices of journeying. So these tools are really specific, and they've been used for, thousands of years.
Well, I understand you also do some group work. Can you tell us a little bit how you do that?
Yeah. One group practice I do it's wonderful. It's called toning, and that is using your voice, but it's not about singing. It's about literally sounding. So it's not about words or even necessarily a melody. Sometimes we do simple chants, but mostly we do a lot of free toning. So it's really just playing with whatever sound is there, and it really helps open people up to just their voices and their own expression. And it can be very healing also. Sometimes we always do it in a circle, and last time I did it, we had 20 people. It was a very rich, wonderful sound, because everyone lends their own unique sound, and the group harmonics are beautiful. You really do get the angels visiting you when you tone.
Oh, our church would love that.
Yeah.
Well, with your background in music, do you perform healing music too?
I do. Another one of the group things I do is I do meditation music, and sometimes that's more of just a sonic journey. I use my gongs and the didgeridoo and the drums and that kind of thing, and people can just really journey with the sound, and they don't have to be active. They can just literally enjoy the journey, and I'll do that in a group. And I also I really love singing in different languages, and I really want to do healing music. So when my first nephew was born, I started recording some lullabies, and that led to me recording a whole album of lullabies in 10 different languages in Seattle, and that was a lot of fun. I think I could sing lullabies the rest of my life and just be happy.
Would you sing one for us?
Sure.
Right now?
Let's see. This one is called Era Lavo, and it is in Sicilian. It's an old Sicilian lullaby, and in it the mother is asking the child to just kind of gently asking, sleep until dawn. Your father is coming back home soon. He's riding his horse back home, and he will be home soon. Sleep until dawn, so that of course the mother can get some sleep as well.
Right.
So I'll just sing one verse.
Okay.
Era lavo che vedus tu nomu, cuci lumi sie un glantumu. Bobo, 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 dorminique falavo, bobo nique, bobo dorminicuzu, e falavo.
Yeah, let's put me to sleep.
Thank you.
That was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, what is the difference between sound healing and music in general?
Well, intention does have a lot to do with it, because even if this were, I mean, this is just a world music instrument. This isn't necessarily made for ritual like the bowls. So these bowls were made specifically for meditation and for, for spiritual practice. Mm-hmm. Well, you can still use something that's just an instrument for a meditation. So the intention has to do with it, both with the instrument as well as how you're using the instrument. And I would say that there are some frequencies that are just naturally more soothing and healing. Mm-hmm. And I personally feel the more we get into even though I love all different types of music, the more we get into more of like the electronic and digital, it takes it out of that sense literally in your body that you felt when I was singing. So, mm-hmm. There's a very physical aspect of these vibrations. And when I combo my emotional intent of soothing and healing with the sound, that is what makes it healing. Mm. So there is a difference. I think an awful lot of music is absolutely healing. But using the very pure frequencies of these healing instruments with intention can be powerful in a different way than a lot of music is.
How do you see sound healing developing as a modality in the future?
I really think that because it's a rather new modality, and even though it's ancient, we're kind of rediscovering it. I think, especially in America, that we are having the phenomena that I will call the oat bran phenomena.
What is that?
Do you remember in the 80s where, I think it was in the 80s, it's so long ago I'm having problems placing it, but where oat bran was the newest thing to lower your cholesterol. And,
yes,
and it was,
I remember that.
Yes, so what do we have? All of a sudden we had oat bran cookies, we probably had oat bran ice cream,
Right.
Yes. Let's throw this, this healthy thing in mass quantities. And so what I am finding is I think that people are going to kind of go overboard for a while, and, a lot of sound isn't necessarily better. A little bit of sound goes a long way. These tinctures, I mean, that's a very pure sound. It's a very simple, pure sound, but we are inundated with so much sound that really gets us back to our center, the pure tones.
I have a question. Your metal bowl, to me, sounds so much more relaxing and soothing than the glass bowls that I've heard. Is there a reason for that?
Part of that, I think, is that the resonance of this bowl is a little lower. It has both the lower and the higher resonances. And some of the crystal bowls are awfully high. So
I have a daughter that gets a headache when she listens to the crystal bowls.
She's probably a little sensitive, and I know some people are sensitive to them. I think they can be beautiful meditative tools, and the metal is going to be a little lower and a little more grounded. It'll mm-hmm. be a little more grounded to our systems. I think the crystal bowls help kind of take us up and out in more of like an astral meditation mm-hmm. way. And they're not quite as grounding. I always finish my work with either my earth gong, which is very grounding, or my earth drum to make sure people are grounded, because that's important. We're so... we're running around in an urban environment, most of us, and grounding is very important.
So you have drums that you use too?
I have a big frame drum it sounds like a heartbeat, like the Native American sound.
Oh, really?
It's beautiful, yeah. Yeah, so, yeah.
And you had your big gong you were going to bring.
Yes.
That's too bad. We could have
maybe
closed the show with it.
I'll have to come back with the big gong, yes, yes, it's beautiful. So... yeah.
Well, it's been wonderful having you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really encourage people to include sacred sound as much as possible in their lives, even simple as putting a beautiful wind chime up by your kitchen window so you can enjoy it every day, because it's really important.
I found that my birds in my backyard like the wind chimes.
Oh, lovely.
They
yeah.
seem to love them.
Yeah.
In fact, when I'm ready to feed them, all I do is go out and start getting them to ring, and here comes all the birds.
That's great. Yeah.
It sort of calls them there.
Yes, yes.
I'm going to ask you if you can lecture in our church, and if
Absolutely,
you can
I'd love to.
do one of your workshops for sound healing.
I'd love to.
I think that would be wonderful.
Thanks.
But first, we're going to ask you to sing.
Okay.
I'll be calling you.
Okay.
So I want to say thank you to our crew and everyone that's put in so much on this show. And I'm so happy that you could come today.
Thank you for having me again. Yes.
And it's been fascinating hearing about what you have to talk about. I always sort of had a feeling that healing was coming through music because I listened to Stephen Halpern's work a lot.
Beautiful, yeah.
And he works through the chakras.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed that if I'm really tired, it gets me to relax.
And it's restorative.
Yes, it is.
Very nice.
So I'm very thankful that we have these ways of healing because we all need it. I've noticed every time I have something wrong with me for a while, I don't want to even play music.
Mm-hmm.
And then I notice that when I'm getting well, I want to hear it again.
Mm.
Well, thank you so much for watching. God bless all of you out there. Remember the First Spiritualist Church where angels come, and so can you. Any Sunday, we're always there. God bless you. Thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.